I want to welcome everyone to our info session today for the online Masters in Data Science here at the University of Notre Dame. I'm Roger Woodard, I'm the program director, and I'm pleased today to have a couple of our students with us who are going to tell you about their experiences of being in the program. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So Colin, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Roger. So I'm Colin Best. I'm in my first year of the online Masters in Data Science program, and I'm currently an employee at AT&T, and I work as a software engineer.
And Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah House. Also my first year, and I work for the Atlanta Hawks basketball club, and I'm in analytics.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to let the students tell us about the program and answer your questions today. And we really want this to be a conversation, so we want to get your questions. So if you would, at the bottom of your Zoom window, you should see a Q&A button. If you would, submit your questions through that Q&A button, not the chat, but through the Q&A button. And those will come into a queue for us, and we will take those questions and answer them as many of those as we can today in this session. If we don't get to your questions today, we will try to reach back out to you after this session and answer those. So just to tell you a little bit about the program and give you a little bit of background. If you're watching this, you probably know most of these details, but our online program in data science is a 21-month program. It is equivalent to our on-campus program. It's a full 30 credit hours. It is fully online. We uphold the same high academic standards that we do with the other programs here at Notre Dame. And this program was created just a couple of years ago with a lot of input from our industry partners. They came in and told us what they needed in data scientists, and we have tried to implement that in our program. So we're going to start off today just with a couple of questions about the program for our panelists. And maybe we'll start off with just a little bit about what the classes are like. So for many of you out there in the audience, you may not have taken any online classes before, or maybe you have. And we want to know a little bit about what the classes are like. So Colin, could you tell us a little bit about the structure of the classes and how they work?
Yeah, so right now we're required to be in class on Mondays and Thursdays. For me, I'm in the East Coast section, and the classes are from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So there's another section for the West Coast folks that I believe starts right as we're ending our session. But what's really nice about it is that the attendance is marched down. You have to be in class every Monday, every Thursday. It keeps you on a really nice schedule, and you're constantly talking and interacting with the other people that are in your section. So it's not like you're, just watching a video that's pre-recorded. You actually have to show up and participate, especially in Roger's class. So I have him this semester, and we're always doing these breakout sessions where, he's breaking us up after going over a concept into these groups. And then we'll try to, pair program together in a group. And there's a lot of that. So it's really interactive.
Sarah, do you want to add to that, to tell a little bit about your experience, what you feel?
Yeah, so I actually joke when we first started the program that you almost have to pay more attention in this format of a class than you do in a regular in-person class, because it's not like you're all facing the teacher. Everyone's facing your face. So if you're not paying attention, it's very obvious if someone's not paying attention. So that's like, it's really nice that everyone's held accountable and everyone really wants to be there. So the participation is good.
And that's because you're all on Zoom like we are today, and
right.
Everyone can see the Brady Bunch layout, as I call it, where you get to see all the faces of everyone in the class all at once. So what about the asynchronous part? Because there's the synchronous part on Monday and Thursday nights, but then there's also other parts to it, right, that you do on your own time?
Yeah, so there's parts that you're supposed to do before class, I mean, ideally. And that part's really nice because it gives you a good context of what we're going to talk about in class, because often in class it's, we want to work in groups and really like get our hands dirty in R. So if you like have done all the before stuff, you really know what's going on. So that's important and gives you good pre-work.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I like that there are very consistent deadlines for all of the work as well. I mean, I've just gotten used to knowing that Wednesday night and Sunday night are my big deadlines for all assignments for each course. So I've really made those routinely my, I'm going to get after it and get some work done nights.
And that's one thing about the program we've tried to do is to make sure that we are consistent from semester to semester in the coursework, so that you get into that rhythm and you know what's coming, and it's not changing deadlines and things that flex around. You have a consistent program so that you can kind of look at when you're doing things in your day-to-day life. So with that, let me move on to the next question. A lot of things involved in this, and let's be honest, there's a lot of work in this program, a lot of things you have to do, and you guys are working full-time jobs and relatively high-pressure full-time jobs. How do you maintain that work-school life balance?
You want me to go first, Sarah? Or
yeah.
So it definitely took some adjusting. When I first started, it hit me. I had to really change my routines and make sure that I was extremely focused on it. This program's been really tied in with what I want to achieve at work. So I'm doing a lot of work that kind of mirrors what we're learning, which is really nice. But definitely you have to be very rigid and set up a routine for yourself if you do want to maintain that work school life balance. I found that just the first month when class started, I shut out everything in my social life just because I was really trying to make sure I got into that routine. But as things have moved along, I've gotten a lot better about, time management. I'm honestly shocked that I can fit so much into a single week at this point. I don't know what I'll do with my 11 days in between the spring semester and the start of summer. So,
Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I think Colin makes some really good points, that it kind of just has to, school and work just have to be the main priorities. And I think something that is really good about this program is that maybe, at least for me in undergrad, I wasn't always interested in every class. So doing homework was always just kind of I have to do homework. But here it's you're so interested in what you're learning that it really becomes oh yeah, I get to go home and watch the videos and look at the homework. And it's not something I don't want to do. So that's nice.
Yeah, nice. So for our audience, again, we want this to be a conversation, so we do want your questions. If you would, there's a Q&A button on the Zoom panel, so go ahead and click that and put your questions in, and we'll take those as we get to them. One last question from me for you guys, if you would. Why Notre Dame? Did you consider other programs? And if so, why was Notre Dame the one that you chose?
Yeah, so I applied to a few programs, and then ultimately my final decision was between Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. And the reason why I chose Notre Dame, I think the most obvious one is the name. I love how excited people are about, being Notre Dame alumni, and the network is incredible. So that's a big reason. I was really excited about having that name, tied into with my name. And the other thing is I just love the immersion program, that you guys have, these sessions where we actually come to Notre Dame and we actually feel like we're a part of it. And I guess, I really need the structure. Otherwise I tend to procrastinate and push things along. And it seemed like the Notre Dame program just had a lot more of a personal touch. Whereas the Georgia Tech program, you're watching a lot of the pre-recorded videos. You're not interacting with your classmates and things like that. And I really liked the tight-knit culture that it seemed like you guys were cultivating.
Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, so I was choosing between 5 programs at the end, and my top 2 were Notre Dame and then Northwestern. And during the choosing period, Roger actually called me and we had a discussion, and that it was much different, like Colin said, like personal feeling with the program, that like I wasn't going to be a number. I wasn't just going to be some random online student. Like there were only going to be roughly 40 people in the program and we were all going to know each other. And so that was really, I was looking to be, it's hard to be an online student. And so to get to be an online student and really feel like a part of the university and a part of a community of people that you can lean on for support was something that just really stood out to me, and has definitely held true through the first year.
Okay, fantastic. So we're getting your questions in from the Q&A button. So again, if you have questions in the audience, hit that Q&A button and go ahead and give them to us. So just following up on some of these things that the audience is asking that relate to this, how many total hours do you put in for your courses a week? Sarah, do you want to give us an estimate?
So I'd say first semester, when we took R and Python, was a lot of hours just because it was just a lot of long assignments that were pretty time intensive. So like sometimes I'd spend like 6 to 7 on just one of those classes. This semester has been a little bit better. So probably each class I spend like 4, so like 8 hours outside of class total.
Okay. Colin, what about you?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Some weeks I'm definitely spending more than that. If the topic is particularly challenging for me, I might spend, 6 or 7 hours outside of work on just that one topic.
Okay. Still kind of following along on some of the questions that the audience is asking. Would this be a good program for a recent undergrad without a lot of professional work experience? So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that was kind of me coming in. I graduated December of 2017 from undergrad, and then I had basically took 2 semesters, and I was just an intern at that point. So I didn't really have any like real professional work experience. And I think it's been a great program.
Okay. Colin, were you going to add something to that? Or?
No, I think she summed it up pretty well. I only had a few years of work experience when I first started. But I think that no matter what your background is, as long as you have a strong grasp of, some of the mathematical concepts and you're at least open to, programming and have a little bit of experience there, I think you'll be perfect in the program.
Okay, so you mentioned mathematics, so I see a question down here. How mathematically advanced do I need to be to begin the class? I have confidence in my ability to relearn or remember some of my previous math experiences, but I have not practiced hardcore math in a long time. So what would you guys say to that? I know it's a little more recent for both of you that you've done stuff, but what do you think?
So I didn't come from a super technical undergraduate degree, although I am a software engineer. So, the programming came really naturally to me. And even with the programming assignments, like Sarah said, I still had to spend, a good deal of time on them, even though I was pretty comfortable with Python already. But when it came to mathematics, I definitely needed to brush up, before the semester on some of the stat and like basic algebra concepts. So I think it's something that you can prepare for. If you don't prepare enough before you start the program, it could make that time that you're spending on some of the concepts, more than what Sarah and I stated. Like I remember I had to reteach myself derivatives and integrals for the first semester. And, that was a bit of a challenge for me.
Okay. Yep. In terms of preparing, are there things that you would recommend? Was there anything that you did that kind of got you back up to speed a little bit before the semester began last year?
I think reviewing the linear algebra and like, at least for this semester, it was kind of necessary to go back and look at like matrices and like matrices transformation and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say that it's like we do a whole lot of really hard math, but it's so woven into so many of the concepts that if you don't understand how like matrix work, for example, like that's going to be a problem when trying to understand like linear model stuff. So it's not that you need to be like ready to do all like the line by line math, but you need to understand how these things work.
And that's one thing, and just from the program side, one of the things that we suggest is that if it has been a few years since you've been in a math class, that going back through some of the online courses in a multivariate calculus or a linear algebra kind of class, that can be helpful. And if you don't have that background, we typically make that a prerequisite for you to get into the program, to actually go back through a university course and that stuff. And as Sarah said, the reason why we do that is because it is kind of fundamental in trying to help students understand the concepts. So you need to understand the calculus part so that you can understand the things we're doing in the Prob and Stats class. You need to understand the linear algebra to do things we do in the linear models class and so forth. So without that background, you will be struggling. Let's see, some quick questions that we can take here that I'll just knock out. How many times a year do we start this program? As Sarah kind of alluded to, we keep this program intentionally small. So we only start once a year. We start in August, and that's the only time that we start. And we keep the cohort size pretty small, only about 40-some students each year. And that's so that we can get to know each other, that the faculty know the students, that the students know each other, and so forth. Some other questions, do we need to take the GRE or the TOEFL for this program? TOEFL is required, and as is the GRE by the graduate school here at Notre Dame. If you have a very strong background in quantitative subjects and have done other graduate work, we can arrange for a GRE waiver, but they are something that you really have to show that you have the equivalent kind of background that the GRE would demonstrate. Can international students enroll in the program? The answer is yes. The one thing that I'll mention on that, we do have synchronous sessions on Mondays and Thursdays that are at very specific times. If you are international, you're going to be in a very different time zone. Then we have to make sure that you understand that and that you realize you would have to work within that time frame that we work. Let's see, some more questions for you guys. Regarding the curriculum, are the students required to take R or Python or both? So what about that?
Yeah, so we actually took R and Python in our first semester of the program. So half of the semester when we first started out was in R, and we had a final for that. And then we moved on to the second half of the semester, mainly using Python. So it was nice that we weren't doing them both like back and forth at the same time, but we did cover both of them.
Okay. And then here's one for you guys. Do either of you work in the data science industry now? And if so, do you find the curriculum appropriate for this field?
Yeah, so I would say that something I really love is that I get to work, because I work in business analytics, and I get to use what we learn all the time. And it's fun because in class, I often get a lot of ideas for what to apply the next day at work. So I think everything that we learn is really applicable. And a lot of people that I work with use similar stuff, and like I'm able to like teach them about things that I've learned in this class because of being in the program.
Okay, excellent. And Colin, you're a software engineer, so you don't directly use this on a day-to-day basis, right? Or do you?
So I actually have been lately. With my current project, we've been building out an analytics tool for call centers that we work with, because I work at AT&T, so we have a ton of people that, answer the phones when our customers come calling. So I've been building out a tool there, and because of the skills that I've learned here, I've been able to play a pretty big role in some of the analysis of that data, some predictions that we've been trying to do to predict truck rolls and things like that. So it's been cool.
Excellent. Okay. So just once again for our audience, if you do have questions, feel free to put those in, excuse me, in that Q&A link, and we'll try to get to them. We've got time for a couple more questions here. Staying on the question of the prerequisite subjects, is there a class you offer prior to starting the program? We don't, as part of the program, specifically offer a getting started or a background kind of class. That's something we're looking into for the future, but there are many calculus and linear algebra kinds of courses out there that are offered by other universities that would be good for that. What about the immersion weekends? Colin, you mentioned the immersions and coming to those here. Can you guys tell us a little bit of what do the immersion weekends look like is one of our questions.
So we've done two, and they were both a little bit different because our first one was on campus, and there was like a part of that was a lot of administrative stuff as being part of the university. But at both times, we've gotten to interact with our professors and do like little mini classes, as well as the one we did in January. We got to hear from some really cool speakers who are data scientists in the field. And we learned about text mining, which was a really interesting topic. And it's just a really good chance to get to spend real, like face-to-face human time with people in your class, so that then once you are on Zoom sessions with them, like you really feel like you know who they are because you've met them in real life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were excited about the stadium tour that we did too during the first immersion weekend. So they brought us down on the field. We had our big class photo with everyone, right at the big Notre Dame logo at the center of the football field. So there were a lot of cool little things that we did, like the tours around campus and whatnot that were pretty fun. So I definitely would not recommend missing out on the immersion weekend. Getting to know your classmates and, hanging out, grabbing dinner with them and all of that it's really cool.
Okay. And are the immersions required? And I guess I can take that one. So the first immersion here on campus is required. It is something that we, as Sarah mentioned, there's a lot of administrative stuff getting the program rolling. It is also important for us as the faculty of the program that the students do meet each other and meet the faculty. One of the things that the research shows is that online programs can be very isolating, and people can feel like they don't know anyone else in the program, even if they are on weekly sessions with them or something like that. Part of our program is to intentionally bring the students together and get them to know each other before you do those sessions online, to get rid of some of that isolation and make it a little bit more connected experience for the students. So that first immersion is required. The subsequent immersions, so for instance, Sarah was mentioning the one we had in January. Those are typically not something that you have to come to, but that many of the students, as Sarah was mentioning, said, it is something that is a good experience, and we do bring in our industry partners and try and get something that you wouldn't be able to get in a typical online class. Another question here that I'll throw to you guys, can you mentioned you were in the East section, Colin. Can you jump into one of the other sections if you wanted to?
Yeah, so there are some people that, because of certain things that happen in their schedule, they have to let the professor know beforehand that they're going to attend the other session. So I don't know if there are people that jump back and forth all the time, but if there's something in your schedule that requires you to, I think you're definitely free to switch sections for a night.
Okay. All right, so we're getting down to the last couple of minutes. And there are a couple other just small questions here. What's a typical class size? So what would you guys say to that?
Like 20.
Okay.
Which is really nice.
Yeah, because you know everyone in your class and you work with them in groups, and it's, yeah.
Is there someone I can contact if I have questions, a hard time, etc.? So is there someone if you're having problems, if you have work issues, is there someone you can contact?
Yeah, there's always someone you can contact. I know I've emailed you a few times. I always get a really quick response if I email professors directly. But if I want a question answered that might apply to a bunch of other people in the class, I just go to our Mattermost forum, which is like a Slack channel or internal, messaging service for anybody who's not familiar with chat. So I'll just post a question there, and usually, everybody will chime in pretty quickly, and that's a great way to get questions answered.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we also try to do with the program, is to make sure that you guys can get questions answered from other people and things like that, and make sure that you do have that interaction with the other students. So we're down to our last questions of the day here. And again, we do have some questions we won't get to. If we didn't answer your question, we will try to reach out to you directly and respond to that. Here's one that I'll throw it to you guys, and maybe you know it, and if not, I can try and help as well. What's the difference between this master's in data science and a master's in, say, business analytics? And did you consider those?
Yeah, I considered one of the programs I was looking at was a master's in business analytics and more like actual coding in the data science course. And for me, I wanted to make sure that I had all the possible technical skills that I could have. And I felt like I could learn the theoretical stuff about like how to apply this to a business through this program as well. So that's why I ultimately chose data science. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think my interpretation of it as well is that the master's in data science was a little bit more technical. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you guys. We're down to the end of time here today. So I just wanted to say for all of you that we didn't get to your questions today, please feel free to connect with us either via email, hit us on our website, hit us through any of the social media channels that you see on the screen. And again, if you have questions that we didn't get to, we'll try to reach out to you. But again, feel free to reach out to us. I want to once again thank our panelists, Colin and Sarah, for your time today and answering those questions. One of the things that I think makes this program a great program is the students, and you guys exemplify that. So again, thank you for that. Again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, thank you for being with us today in our webinar, and we hopefully will talk to you soon.